Okay, so we have the sort of geometry set up. Just bring the rig back in from the Rigify to kind of let us understand the key bones. If you have a head and neck, sometimes really just need one neck bone in the spine. You have shoulder bones, clavicle bones, sometimes forearm, upper arm, hand bone, thigh bone, shin bone. You know, they connect at the knee. Bones look like bowling pins, kind of. Okay, so we're gonna make our own. Not gonna, original. Okay, save as a new version. You've got this model. In case you make a mistake, you're new to this, you don't have to go and remodel from scratch if you screw something up. And basically, you're going into, object mode at first. You're adding a bone. Okay, one bone by itself, and and then you want to set some things up there for the view, and then you want to jump into edit mode. I accidentally jumped into, yeah, you jump into edit mode and S scrolls it down. G moves the bone around. You grab it and move it by moving the mouse. It's kind of like when you duplicate. And then, of course, the other one is R to rotate a bone. Okay. All you do is you have your bone, you select the end of the bone. Okay. The fat end at the bottom is the head, and the skinny end is considered the tail. Okay. And you use E to extend. And when you select it does a pretty good job. This is called sort of the meta rig. Okay, it's when it's actually bound to the skeleton. That's technically when it's called the rig. To use the Blender nomenclature. Um, and you're just doing basically for each part. Now, I did some extra joints in there in the shoulder areas and in the thigh areas just because of the extra geometries. You jump around, you can position, again, you're doing all this in the sort of edit mode. um, that's where you're setting this up. Because our character is supposed to be in a T pose, well, you want your skeleton basically to look as sort of T-ish as much as possible. Yeah, those clavicle bones I've got there at the top of the spine, because this character doesn't have a neck and head. I should maybe have brought those down a bit, but to be a little bit more, they're a little high, but that's okay. It'll still work. Um, Sometimes you have bones that are kind of almost like vestigial bones, as they call them in biology. They're there, but they really don't do too much. And these hand bones, these ones that I'm forking off here, those little ones are kind of like that. They're more important for giving me the bones I want in the pincers of the claws. Okay, I need a bone in there, almost like the finger bones. Okay, and when it comes to actually sort of rotating the wrist, I probably won't be using those little forky vestigial bones. Okay, but you still need them because, well, they help define the relationship between the wrist and the arm, and etc. etc. Um, you don't have to have bones, necessarily always joined. That's a more advanced sort of topic understanding. We have a sort of, continuous chain of bones here, as they call it. Just it simplifies things. And, there are ways to mirror bones, and if you have perfect symmetry, you can do that. It's good to get practice to understand it, how these tools work, and that way you can sort of, you just get more familiar doing it sort of more manually than automated. Um, and you can do it in any order you want. Um, Going back to the sort of first bone, you can do a head-to-head sort of, and you see this often for a sort of pelvis or groin. It kind of, goes the other way, and then you have a bone coming up to be the sort of hips again, and that's the regular tail to head sort of extension with E. Sometimes you get stuck along an axis or something, which can be good or bad. And I'm just showing here how you're basically, positioning along and sort of having it. Now, because you have your model centralized with the, 000 space, I mean, that's where the registration is happening for this armature. You'll see that as you move around. If for some reason you've moved your model, off you kind of want it that the bones are kind of in the middle of everything. Um, yeah, extra joints kind of give you options for doing special, um, you know, things with bodies. Think of the General Grievous character from the um, latter series of Star Wars films, with those extra appendages and sort of extra elbows and things like that. Um, And this again, this type of character is similar to another sort of Star Wars type character with a sort of droid that doesn't have a head, kind of idea. Um, it reminds me actually too of the Boston Dynamics type, thing you see with those robots. Um, it kind of has a human element, but kind of unhuman at the same time, and kind of gives it this interesting human but not human, less human than human, but still kind of humanish, and that kind of makes it sometimes, I think, in games, people feel it's better to shoot at robots than sort of things that look too much like people. We certainly don't want to make it look like small children, right? So,